The massive holographic screen at Earth's Global Defense Command lit up with an unusual signal. General Martinez squinted at the crystalline ship that had appeared just beyond lunar orbit. Its translucent hull pulsed with soft blue light, unlike anything humans had ever encountered. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," Lieutenant Park reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. It's a distress call." Thousands of miles away, Captain Sarah Chen was doing what she loved most, teaching young pilots at the academy. The simulator pod hummed as her student attempted a difficult maneuver. "Easy on the thrust, Jenkins," she advised through the comm. "In real space, that would have torn your wings off." Sarah couldn't help but smile, remembering her own training days. At 32, she was the youngest instructor in the academy's history, with more combat flight hours than any other pilot on Earth. The classroom's emergency line buzzed, its red light cutting through her thoughts. Sarah frowned. That line was only used for global threats. "Captain Chen," a familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Report to command immediately. We have a situation that requires your unique capabilities." The trip to command took less than an hour in the hypersonic transport, but to Sarah, it felt like days. The briefing room was packed with Earth's top military brass when she arrived, their faces grave. "Captain," General Martinez nodded to her, "what I'm about to show you doesn't leave this room." He gestured to the screen behind him, where the crystalline ship floated gracefully against the backdrop of stars. 3 hours ago, this vessel entered our solar system. Its occupants call themselves the Lumini." The general pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The aliens were beautiful, tall, ethereal beings that seemed to glow from within. Their skin was translucent, showing delicate patterns of light flowing beneath the surface. They had humanoid features, but their eyes were large and completely silver, reflecting light like mirrors. "They're being hunted," Martinez continued, "by something called the Vorkath. Their pilot was killed in their last encounter, and their ship," he paused, looking directly at Sarah, "can only be flown by beings with specific neural patterns. Humans, as it turns out, are compatible." Sarah's mind raced. In all her years of training, first as a fighter pilot, and then as an instructor, nothing had prepared her for this. "Why me specifically, sir?" The answer came not from the general, but from one of the screens. A Lumini appeared, its voice melodic and clear despite speaking through a translator. "Captain Chen, your neural patterns are the closest match we've ever seen to our pilot interface. Your combat record and ability to process multiple scenarios simultaneously make you uniquely qualified. The choice is yours, Captain," Martinez added. "But understand, this could be humanity's first step into a larger galaxy. We need our best up there." Sarah looked at the footage of the crystalline ship again. Everything she'd ever trained for, every combat mission, every simulator hour, it had all led to this moment. The fate of not just one species, but potentially Earth's future in the galaxy, hung in the balance. "How soon can I meet them?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The Lumini's expression shifted in what might have been their version of a smile. "We are prepared to receive you immediately, Captain. Time is of the essence." As Sarah followed the general out of the briefing room, her mind was already running through scenarios and protocols. She had trained dozens of pilots, fought in the resource wars, and earned every commendation possible on Earth. But this was different. This was her chance to prove that humanity could stand among the stars. Little did she know, as she prepared for her first step into that crystalline ship, that she wasn't just going to be a pilot. She was about to become humanity's first line of defense in a war that had been raging across the galaxy for centuries. The stars were waiting, and Sarah Chen was ready to answer their call. The crystalline ship's airlock hissed open, releasing a soft mist of sweet-smelling air. Sarah Chen took her first step into the alien vessel, her standard-issue boots clicking against the pearlescent floor. The interior was unlike anything in human engineering. Organic curves and flowing lines replaced the sharp angles she was used to. "Welcome aboard the Starweaver, Captain Chen." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. A tall lumini emerged from around a curved corridor, its bioluminescent patterns pulsing in gentle waves. "I am first speaker, Lyra." Sarah had been briefed about lumini appearance, but nothing prepared her for seeing one up close. Lyra stood nearly 7 feet tall, her translucent skin revealing intricate patterns of light that shifted with her movements. Her silver eyes caught every reflection, making them look like living mirrors. "Thank you for having me," Sarah replied, fighting the urge to step back as Lyra moved very close, much closer than human comfort would allow. She remembered her briefing. Lumini had different concepts of personal space. "Your heart rate has increased," another voice chimed in. A slightly shorter lumini appeared, this one with patterns that glowed in shades of green. "Are you experiencing distress?" "I am Medic Ven." "I'm fine," Sarah assured them, trying to relax as 3 more lumini crowded around her, their faces inches from hers. Their natural glow illuminated her skin, making her feel like she was standing in a cluster of curious stars, just adjusting to new protocols. The ship's AI chose that moment to introduce itself, its voice resonating through Sarah's bones. Neural pattern detected. Compatibility at 93.7%, exceeding previous pilot parameters. "Welcome, new pilot Sarah." Lyra's patterns flashed with surprise. "Extraordinary. The ship's AI has never responded so strongly to a new pilot before." As the crew led Sarah to the bridge, she noticed they moved as a tight group, always maintaining physical contact with each other. When they tried to include her in this intimate formation, she had to consciously override her instinct to maintain distance. "Your species maintains significant physical separation," observed Navigator Iko, his blue patterns swirling with curiosity. "How do you share emotions without light touch?" "We use facial expressions and body language," Sarah explained, then demonstrated a smile. The lumini watched in fascination, attempting to mimic the expression with their own features. Their attempt at smiling was both endearing and slightly unsettling. The bridge itself took Sarah's breath away. Instead of screens and control panels, there was a single crystal chair surrounded by floating holographic displays. As she approached, the chair adjusted itself to her human form. "New pilot Sarah, please initialize neural interface," the ship's AI requested. Sarah sat down, and the chair immediately molded to her body. Tiny crystals emerged, gently touching her temples and the back of her neck. Her mind exploded with information. Ship systems, navigation data, weapon controls, all flowing directly into her consciousness. "Neural pattern integration complete," the AI announced, sounding almost pleased. "Efficiency rating 12% higher than standard parameters." Suddenly, alarm crystals throughout the bridge flashed red. "Priority message incoming," the AI declared. "Vorkath attack detected in Sector 7. Lumini Research Colony Starlight Haven has gone dark." The crew's light patterns shifted to darker colors, their equivalent of distress. Sarah felt their emotions through the neural interface, a wave of grief and fear that nearly overwhelmed her. "How long until we can reach them?" Sarah asked, already accessing the navigation systems through her neural link. Standard protocols suggest 8 solar cycles of preparation for a new pilot before attempting spatial translation, Lyra stated, her patterns showing concern. Sarah straightened in the control chair, her military training kicking in. "The Vorkath aren't going to wait 8 days to attack again. I can handle it now." The lumini exchanged glances, their patterns synchronizing in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as their version of silent communication. "Very well," Lyra finally agreed. "But understand, Captain Chen, no human has ever attempted spatial translation. The process can be disorienting." Sarah's hands gripped the crystalline armrests as she felt the ship's systems fully integrating with her mind. "In my experience," she said with a slight smile, The best pilots do the impossible every day. The Starweaver hummed to life around them, responding to its new pilot's determination. The stars were waiting, and they had no time to lose. Sarah's head throbbed as she guided the Starweaver through another practice maneuver. After 3 days of intensive training, she was still adjusting to the neural interface. The ship responded to her thoughts instantly, almost too quickly sometimes, amplifying every stray idea into action. Your mind processes multiple trajectories simultaneously, Navigator Echo observed, his blue patterns rippling with fascination. Most remarkable. Even our previous pilot could only calculate 2 or 3 paths at once. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead. In her mind, she could see every possible flight path, every angle of attack, every potential escape route. It was overwhelming but exhilarating. On Earth, fighter pilots have to think fast. One mistake and you're done. New pilot Sarah. The ship's AI chimed in. Combat simulation ready. Difficulty level. Advanced. The holographic space around the bridge filled with red dots, simulated Vorkath fighters. Sarah's hands tightened on the crystal controls as she dove into the challenge. The Starweaver responded to her thoughts, weaving through the virtual enemy formation with impossible grace. Incredible, first speaker Lyra whispered, watching Sarah execute maneuvers their previous pilot had never attempted. She's using the gravity wells to slingshot around targets. But something was bothering Sarah. Between simulated battles and neural interface training, she had noticed patterns in the Vorkath attacks. Why do they specifically target your research stations? She asked, spinning the ship through another complex evasion pattern. The Lumini crew grew still, their light patterns dimming slightly. Lyra stepped forward, her silver eyes reflecting the holographic battle scene. We should show her, she said to the others. She needs to understand what she's really protecting. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt the ship's systems shift. A new hologram appeared, a vast library, but unlike anything on Earth. Crystals of varying sizes floated in perfect formation, each one glowing with stored information. Our species, Lyra explained, has a unique ability. We can perfectly preserve the knowledge, history, and culture of other civilizations within our crystalline matrix. For millennia, we have been the guardians of countless species' legacies. The Vorkath, Echo added, his patterns darkening, discovered that our neural patterns can be harvested. They believe they can extract this information and use it to predict and control other species. Sarah's mind raced as she processed this information, while simultaneously running combat drills. The ship responded to her increased brain activity, displays flickering faster than the Lumini could follow. You're not just data storage, she said finally, understanding dawning. You're living archives. Each of you carries the memories of entire civilizations. Correct, Medic Ven confirmed. And if the Vorkath succeed in their mission, they would gain access to technology and knowledge that could enslave the galaxy, including Earth. The simulation suddenly froze as Sarah processed this revelation. Through the neural interface, she could feel the ship scanning her elevated vital signs. That's why you needed a human pilot, she said, pieces falling into place. The Vorkath can predict your tactics because they've studied your species, but they've never encountered human warfare. Lyra's patterns brightened. Your species thinks differently. Your combat strategies, your ability to make intuitive leaps, your capacity for what you call thinking outside the box. These are all unknowns to the Vorkath. Sarah restarted the combat simulation, this time applying classical Earth fighter tactics. The simulated Vorkath ships, programmed with their standard attack patterns, failed to adapt to her unorthodox maneuvers. New pilot Sarah's neural patterns show unprecedented integration rates. The ship's AI announced, combat efficiency now exceeding all recorded parameters. Looking at the concerned faces of her alien crew, Sarah made a decision. We've been playing defense, running from research station to research station. Maybe it's time we showed the Vorkath something new. Her fingers danced across the crystal controls as she pulled up star charts. "What do you suggest?" Lyra asked, her patterns showing both concern and curiosity. Sarah smiled, the kind of smile that had made her Earth combat instructors nervous. "It's time you learned about a very human concept, the preemptive strike." The Starweaver hummed in response to her confidence, its systems already calculating battle scenarios based on her thoughts. The real training was about to begin. Starweaver dropped out of spatial translation near the Lumini research station, Crystalline Dawn. Sarah's stomach lurched. No amount of training could fully prepare a human for faster-than-light travel. Through the neural interface, she could feel the ship's concern for her physical discomfort. "I'm fine," she assured both the ship and the worried-looking crew. "Just need a second to." Her words cut off as the ship's sensors screamed a warning. Vorkath signatures detected. Navigator Echo's patterns flashed in alarm. 3 warships emerging from the system's asteroid belt. Sarah's mind connected deeply with the ship's systems, combat training kicking in. "Show me their positions." The holographic display lit up, showing 3 angular dark ships moving toward the research station. Their designs were as aggressive as their species, all sharp edges and weapon ports, a stark contrast to the Lumini's elegant vessels. Standard protocol suggests immediate retreat. First Speaker Lyra said, her patterns showing fear. "The station's shields will buy us time to." "No," Sarah interrupted, her hands already moving across the crystal controls. "That's exactly what they expect." "Echo, what's the composition of that asteroid belt?" "High concentration of iron and radioactive elements," Echo replied. "The radiation interferes with long-range scanners." A plan formed in Sarah's mind, and she felt the ship's AI quickly processing her strategy. "Perfect. Everyone hold on tight." The Starweaver responded to her thoughts, diving straight toward the approaching Vorkath fleet. Through the viewport, Sarah could see their enemy ships adjusting formation, preparing for their standard attack pattern. "They're charging weapons." Medic Van called out, his green patterns pulsing rapidly. "That's what we want," Sarah muttered, her mind calculating trajectories. Just before the Vorkath could fire, she threw the ship into a spiral that would have been impossible in a standard Earth fighter. The enemy shots passed harmlessly through their previous position. The Lumini crew gasped as Sarah piloted directly into the asteroid belt, weaving between massive rocks with precision that seemed impossible. The Vorkath followed, just as she planned. "New pilot, Sarah," the ship's eye warned, radiation levels rising. "Shield integrity at risk." "Trust me," Sarah replied, diving deeper into the field. The radioactive asteroids were playing havoc with everyone's sensors, exactly what she needed. She found what she was looking for, a cluster of highly radioactive asteroids. With a thought, she activated the ship's gravitational pulse system, something she discovered during training but the Lumini had never used in combat. The pulse hit the asteroid cluster, sending dozens of radioactive rocks tumbling toward the pursuing Vorkath ships. Their pilots, trained to expect standard Lumini escape tactics, weren't prepared for this kind of aggressive maneuver. 2 Vorkath ships collided with the radioactive debris, their shields overloading from the combination of physical impact and radiation. The 3rd ship attempted to retreat, but Sarah was ready. "Hold on," she warned, as she executed a slingshot maneuver around a large asteroid, using its gravity to accelerate the Starweaver to attack speed. The surviving Vorkath ship never saw them coming. One precise shot from their crystal cannons, and the enemy vessel's engines went dark. The bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. The Lumini crew stared at Sarah, their patterns showing a mix of shock and awe. 3 Vorkath warships, Echo said quietly, defeated by 1 ship. "It's unprecedented." But Sarah was already moving the Starweaver toward the research station. "The battle's not over until everyone's safe. Let's get those researchers evacuated." As they approached the station, their communications crystal lit up with an incoming transmission. The message was in the harsh, guttural language of the Vorkath. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," Lyra translated, her patterns showing concern. They're putting a bounty on our ship, specifically mentioning the primitive species pilot. Sarah felt a grim smile cross her face as she guided the ship toward the station's docking bay. Good. Let them come. They'll learn that primitive doesn't mean what they think it means. Through the neural interface, she felt the Starweaver's agreement, its systems humming in harmony with her thoughts. They had won their first battle, but the war was just beginning. The Starweaver drifted in the shadow of a gas giant, its systems running in low power mode while the crew recovered from their recent battle. Sarah sat in the crystal garden, a peaceful chamber where the Lumini went to restore their energy. Her head still buzzed from the intense neural connection during combat. "Your mind is troubled," first speaker Lyra observed, her patterns gentle in the dim light. She gracefully settled beside Sarah, closer than humans would normally sit, but Sarah was getting used to it. "Something doesn't add up," Sarah replied, fingering the crystal pendant she'd been given after the battle. "The Vorkath could have shot down hundreds of research stations by now. Why chase individual ships? Why put a bounty specifically on us?" Lyra's patterns dimmed, and through the ship's neural network, Sarah felt a wave of collective anxiety from the crew. "Walk with me, Captain Chen." They moved deeper into the ship, to a section Sarah hadn't visited before. The walls here were lined with crystals that pulsed with their own light, each one unique. "What you're about to see," Lyra said, placing her hand on a large central crystal, "is the real reason the Vorkath hunt us." The crystal responded to Lyra's touch, projecting a massive hologram throughout the chamber. Sarah gasped. She saw entire civilizations, species she never imagined, their histories, their achievements, their downfalls. Cities that spanned galaxies, technologies that defied physics as humans understood it. "This is the true archive," Lyra explained. "What we told you before was only part of the truth. We don't just store data. We preserve the essence of entire civilizations. Their art, their music, their souls." Sarah watched as a holographic alien child played with what looked like living starlight. Another image showed beams of pure energy building impossible structures. "How many?" she whispered. "Over 10,000 extinct species," Echo's voice came from behind them. "Their worlds are gone, their people lost. But here, they live on. We are their memory." Sarah turned slowly, taking in the magnitude of what she was seeing. "And the Vorkath want to use this knowledge as a weapon." "Worse," Medic Ven added, his green patterns showing deep distress. "They want to selectively erase civilizations from the archive that don't fit their vision of how the galaxy should be. They would rewrite history itself." Through the neural interface, the ship shared images of previous Vorkath attacks. Sarah saw them systematically destroying Lumini archives, erasing countless civilizations from memory forever. "That's why you needed a human pilot," Sarah realized. "Not just for combat skills, but because your species still has something the Vorkath fear most. Uncertainty," Lyra finished. "Humans are young among the stars, your potential unknown. They cannot predict what you might become." Sarah stood in silence, watching the holographic memories of long-dead civilizations dance around her. Her mind raced with the implications. If the Vorkath succeeded, they wouldn't just control the future. They would control how every species remembered its past. "Show me Earth," she said suddenly. The holograms shifted, showing her home planet. But this was Earth seen through Lumini crystals. She saw the potential futures branching out like a glowing tree, thousands of possible paths humanity might take among the stars. "We've already begun preserving your species' memories," Lyra said softly. "Your art, your music, your endless capacity to surprise and adapt. The Vorkath would erase humanity's potential before it can be realized." Sarah touched one of the crystals, feeling its warm response to her neural pattern. In that moment, she understood that she wasn't just protecting the Lumini anymore. She was fighting for every species that had ever looked up at the stars and dreamed. "Then we need to do more than run and hide," she said, her voice firm. "It's time to show the Vorkath that erasing history has consequences. The crystals around them pulsed brighter, as if responding to her determination. Through the neural link, Sarah felt the Star Weaver's systems powering up, ready for whatever she planned next. The fate of not just humanity, but of all preserved civilizations, now rested in their hands. Sarah had never felt more ready for a fight. Era stood before the assembled Lumini crew in the Star Weaver's main chamber. Holographic star maps swirled around them, showing enemy positions marked in angry red dots. "We've been running away," Sarah said, pacing the crystal floor. "And every time we run, the Vorkath destroy another archive. It's time to change the game." First speaker Lyra's patterns showed concern. "Our species has never launched an offensive action, Captain Chen. We are preservers, not warriors." "Which is exactly why they won't expect it," Sarah replied, using the neural interface to bring up images of Earth's military history. "In human warfare, we have something called a preemptive strike. Sometimes the best defense is a strong offense." The crew watched in fascination as Sarah displayed historical battle tactics, guerrilla warfare, surprise attacks, and strategic deception. Through their shared neural connection, she could feel their mix of anxiety and curiosity. "I've studied the Vorkath attack patterns," she continued, highlighting several star systems. "They're methodical, predictable. They expect you to run, so their rear defenses are weak. We can use that." Navigator Echo's patterns brightened with understanding. "Their supply lines. They'd never expect an attack there." "Exactly." Sarah smiled, manipulating the hologram to show a small Vorkath forward base. "And I found their weakest point. This base coordinates all their operations in this sector." Using the neural interface, Sarah demonstrated her plan. The Starweaver's unique crystalline technology, combined with human battle tactics, could give them an edge no one would expect. "We need to modify the ship's systems," she explained, sending her ideas directly through the neural link. "The Vorkath rely on predictable patterns. Let's show them something they've never seen." Over the next few days, the crew worked tirelessly. Under Sarah's guidance, they adapted the ship's crystal technology in ways the Lumini had never considered. They installed new weapon configurations based on Earth fighter designs, modified their shields to emit false sensor readings, and created special crystals that could temporarily disrupt Vorkath communications. "Your species thinks differently," Medic Ven observed, watching Sarah test the new systems. "Where we see preservation, you see potential for change." The ship's AI had also evolved, learning to integrate human combat instincts with Lumini technology. "New configurations exceed all known parameters," it announced, sounding almost excited. Combat effectiveness increased by 287%. News arrived daily of more Lumini archives under attack. Sarah used each report to refine their plan, studying enemy tactics and response times. She taught the crew about human military strategies, the importance of surprise, the value of deception, and the power of unpredictable movements. In Earth's history, she explained during one training session, smaller forces have defeated larger ones by being smarter, not stronger. The Vorkath think they know everything about how you fight. That's their weakness. Word of their successful defense of the research station had spread. Other Lumini ships began to make contact, curious about the human pilot who had defeated 3 Vorkath warships. Sarah saw an opportunity. "We need to build a network," she told Lyra. "Small groups, operating independently but coordinating their actions, like Earth resistance movements." The Lumini crew, traditionally peaceful, found themselves learning concepts like tactical retreats, flanking maneuvers, and coordinated strikes. Sarah was surprised by how quickly they adapted, their natural ability to process information making them excellent students. "Tomorrow," Sarah announced on the final day of preparation, "we strike their base, not just to destroy it, but to send a message. The Lumini aren't helpless preservers anymore. They're warriors protecting the galaxy's heritage." Looking at her crew, Sarah saw not the timid archivists she'd first met, but a trained strike team ready for action. Their patterns glowed with determination and purpose. Through the neural interface, the Starweaver hummed with readiness, its new systems perfectly tuned to Sarah's combat instincts. They had one chance to prove that the combination of human warfare and Lumini technology could change the course of this conflict. The Starweaver hung silently in the shadow of a small moon, its crystalline surface dim to near invisibility. Inside, Sarah and the crew made final preparations for their attack on the Vorkaf forward base. Their patrol ships passed this sector every 6 hours. Navigator Echo reported, his patterns glowing softly in the darkened bridge. "We have a 3-minute window between scans." Sarah nodded. Her mind merged deeply with the ship's systems through the neural interface. "That's all we need. Remember, everyone, they're expecting scared archivists, not warriors." The base floated below them, a dark, angular structure that looked like a mass of sharp black thorns against the stars. Through their enhanced sensors, Sarah counted 12 Vorkaf ships docked at the station. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. First, Speaker Lyra activated their modified crystal array. The new technology, based on Sarah's understanding of Earth electronic warfare, began broadcasting false sensor readings throughout the sector. Multiple phantom signatures detected. The ship's AI confirmed. Vorkaf defense grid is responding as predicted. Sarah watched through the holographic display as confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Their ships began breaking formation, moving to investigate the false signals. "They're splitting up," Sarah smiled. "Just like Earth submarines hunting phantom sonar contacts." Phase 2. Now. The Starweaver's engines roared to life. But instead of the elegant, predictable movements the Vorkaf expected from a Lumini ship, they executed a series of aggressive Earth fighter maneuvers. The ship dove straight toward the base, rolling and weaving in patterns that defied the enemy's combat computers. "They're trying to lock weapons," Medic Ven called out, his patterns flickering with excitement and fear. "Let them try," Sarah replied, her mind guiding the ship through impossibly tight turns. "Our new crystal configuration scrambles their targeting systems every time they think they have a solution." The first Vorkaf ship exploded before it could even fire, hit by weapons it never saw coming. The second and third fell just as quickly, their crews unable to adapt to tactics they'd never encountered. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt the ship's eye learning and adapting with each maneuver, combining Lumini precision with human unpredictability. They weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of space combat. "Station defenses activated," Echo warned. Sarah grinned. "Perfect. Echo, execute maneuver Thor." The Starweaver shot straight up, seeming to retreat. The station's main guns tracked them, just as Sarah had predicted. At the last second, they cut engines and dropped like a stone, falling into the station's blind spot. The base's own defensive fire hit 3 more Vorkaf ships that had been pursuing them. "Crystal charges armed," Lyra reported, her pattern steady despite the intense combat. Sarah lined up their final attack run. "Remember, we're not here to destroy the base. We're here to send a message." The crystal charges, designed to overload the base's computer systems rather than destroy them, launched with perfect accuracy. As they hit, the entire station went dark. "Download initiating," the ship's AI announced. "Accessing Vorkaf tactical database." Through the station's compromised systems, they'd broadcast a message to every Vorkaf ship in the sector. "The archives are not defenseless. The next attack will not be a warning." As they prepared to leave, their sensors detected something unexpected: transmissions from dozens of nearby systems. Other alien species had been watching the battle. "We're receiving messages," Lyra said, her patterns brightening with each new signal. "They're offering to help. Species that have been neutral until now want to join our resistance." Sarah nodded, understanding the implications. The Vorkaf's greatest weapon had been fear, fear that fighting back was hopeless. Today, they had broken that weapon. "Captain," Echo called out urgently, "I'm detecting encrypted transmissions from the Vorkaf High Command. They're specifically discussing you." The primitive species pilot, Lyra translated, her patterns showing concern. They're making you their primary target. The bounty on your capture has increased tenfold. Sarah guided the Starweaver away from the crippled base, already planning their next move. Good, she said firmly. Let them come. They'd wanted to study human warfare. We'll give them a lesson they'll never forget. The stars streaked past as they jumped to safety, leaving behind a victory that would change the course of the war. The preservers of history have become makers of history, and the galaxy had noticed. The Starweaver's emergency alarm pierced through Sarah's sleep cycle. She rushed to the bridge, her neural link with the ship already feeding her information before she arrived. Multiple spatial ruptures detected. Navigator Echo's patterns flashed with panic. Largest Vorkath fleet movement ever recorded. The holographic display showed hundreds of enemy ships moving in formation. But something was wrong. They weren't heading toward any Lumini archives or colonies. They're on a direct course for Earth, first speaker Lyra announced, her patterns dim with dread. Estimated arrival: 72 hours. Sarah's blood ran cold. Through the neural interface, she felt the ship's AI rapidly calculating possible scenarios. None of them looked good. They're not trying to destroy the archives anymore, she realized, studying the enemy fleet's formation. They want to eliminate humanity before we can teach others to fight back. The bridge fell silent. The crew had grown to trust Sarah's tactical instincts, but this was different. This was an entire invasion fleet heading toward her homeworld. We have to warn Earth, Sarah said, already plotting the fastest course through the neural interface. But the Vorkath will be monitoring all standard communication channels. Medic Ven stepped forward, his green patterns pulsing with an idea. The archive crystals. We could modify them to carry a message through subspace. The Vorkath would never think to monitor those frequencies. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. But we need more than just a warning. Earth's current defenses won't stand a chance against this fleet. We need to give them a fighting chance. Through their neural link, the ship displayed Earth's solar system. Sarah studied it carefully, remembering her years of tactical training. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that always made her crew nervous. The Vorkath think they know everything about human warfare from studying their recent battles, she said. But they've never seen what humans can do when defending their home. Over the next few hours, Sarah outlined her plan. It was risky, maybe even crazy, but it was their only chance. They would use Earth's solar system itself as a weapon. The sun's radiation, she explained, showing simulations through the neural interface. The asteroid belt, the gas giants' gravity wells, even the space debris in Earth's orbit. We can turn everything into an advantage. The Lumini crew watched in amazement as she detailed her strategy. It went against their peaceful nature, but they had seen enough to trust her judgment. There's one more thing, Sarah added, accessing the ship's deepest systems. We need to share our crystal technology with Earth's defense forces. It's the only way to level the playing field. Lyra's patterns showed concern. Our technology has never been shared with such a young species. The Council won't have a council left if the Vorkath win, Sarah finished. Sometimes preservation means taking risks. The next 2 days were a blur of activity. They sent coded warnings through modified archive crystals, coordinated with other resistance ships, and prepared the Starweaver for the biggest battle of their lives. Sarah spent hours in neural interface, working with the ship's AI to develop new combat protocols. They would need every advantage they could get. The Vorkath fleet has accelerated, Echo reported on the final day. They'll reach Earth in 12 hours. Sarah looked at her crew, no longer just aliens she worked with, but family she would die to protect. Through the neural interface, she felt their determination matching her own. Send the final transmission to Earth, she ordered. Tell them to prepare the solar defense grid exactly as planned. And she paused, knowing what she was asking might go against everything the Lumini believed. Tell them to be ready for the most aggressive defense in human history. The Starweaver's engines hummed to life, its crystal systems pulsing with power. They had one chance to save Earth, and it would require everything they had learned together: human courage, Lumini technology, and a kind of desperate creativity that came from fighting for survival. As they set course for Earth, Sarah sent a silent prayer to the stars. The greatest battle of two civilizations was about to begin, and the fate of both species hung in the balance. Earth's orbital space buzzed with frantic activity. In just 48 hours, humanity had integrated Lumini crystal technology into their defense systems, transforming ordinary satellites into powerful battle stations. Sarah watched from the Starweaver's bridge as the last pieces of her plan fell into place. Vorkath fleet entering the solar system. Navigator Echo announced, his patterns pulsing rapidly. Over 300 warships detected. Sarah remained calm, connected deeply to both the Starweaver and Earth's new crystal defense network through her neural interface. Let them come. Everything's ready. The enemy fleet emerged from spatial translation near Jupiter, their black ships blocking out the stars. Through the neural link, Sarah felt Earth's population holding their breath, watching the massive fleet approach their home. They're broadcasting. First speaker Lyra reported. They're demanding Earth's immediate surrender. Send them our response, Sarah smiled, activating the first phase of their trap. Suddenly, hundreds of crystal-enhanced satellites around Earth began broadcasting conflicting signals, creating a web of electromagnetic chaos. Just as they'd planned, the Vorkath fleet split up to deal with multiple perceived threats. Now, Sarah commanded. The Starweaver, along with 20 other Lumini ships that had joined their resistance, emerged from hiding behind Earth's moon. But they weren't alone. Earth's entire defense fleet, now equipped with crystal technology, rose to join them. They're trying to regroup, Medic Ven observed as the Vorkath fleet realized their mistake. Too late, Sarah replied. At her mental command, the defense network activated its second phase. The crystal-enhanced satellites focused the sun's radiation into deadly beams, cutting through the scattered enemy formation. The space around Earth erupted into the largest battle in human history. Sarah's strategy worked perfectly. The Vorkath's rigid tactical programming couldn't handle the chaos of human warfare combined with Lumini technology. Their flagship is attempting to coordinate their forces, Echo reported. Perfect. Execute Maneuver Thunderstorm. The Starweaver shot forward, leading a mixed group of Earth and Lumini ships directly at the Vorkath command vessel. They moved in patterns that defied conventional space combat, using maneuvers Sarah had designed based on Earth's most unpredictable fighters. Through the neural interface, Sarah coordinated with Earth's defense forces, orchestrating a battle that would be remembered for centuries. Crystal beams flashed across space, human fighters darted between larger ships, and the Vorkath fleet found themselves trapped in a web of unconventional tactics they couldn't predict. Their shields are failing, Lyra called out as another enemy ship succumbed to their combined assault. The Vorkath flagship, realizing their defeat was imminent, attempted one final desperate attack on Earth. But Sarah had anticipated this too. All ships, execute final protocol, she ordered. Every crystal-enhanced vessel in Earth's defense fleet focused their energy into a single massive burst. The combined power overwhelmed the enemy flagship's shields, and the massive vessel went dark. The remaining Vorkath ships, seeing their leaders defeated by the very primitive species they had come to destroy, began to retreat. Victory cheers erupted across all channels. Human and Lumini voices united in celebration. They're sending a message, Lyra announced, her patterns bright with joy. The Vorkath High Command is calling for an immediate ceasefire. They're requesting peace negotiations. Sarah leaned back in her crystal control chair, feeling the exhaustion of battle fade into relief. Through the neural interface, she could sense the ship's satisfaction and her crew's amazement at what they had accomplished. Earth's leaders quickly arranged a meeting with both Lumini and Vorkath representatives. As Sarah stood in the United Earth Defense Headquarters, she watched humans and aliens working together to establish new treaties and alliances. The Council has made a decision, Lyra announced during the ceremony. Earth will be given full access to our archive technology. Your species has proven itself not just worthy of preservation, but capable of protecting the galaxy's heritage. Sarah was appointed as the first human representative to the Lumini Council, a bridge between two civilizations that had found strength in their differences. The Starweaver would remain her ship, but now its mission was to explore and protect, not just to run and hide. As she looked out at Earth from orbit that evening, Sarah smiled. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, and she had a feeling their greatest adventures were just beginning.